Today is going to be an exciting moment as we explore leading with empathy together. That will be the center of our focus in this podcast. This is an executive podcast, executive wellness podcast 8, uh, and we are looking at the subject leading with empathy. I know there is so much that people have said about leadership, but we want to focus on how we can lead well, how we can be a leader that people will be willing to associate with, a leader that people will be proud of. You know, there are some leaders that people are not willing to associate with them. There are some leaders that personally I don't wish to associate with them. There are some leaders you don't wish they have any kind of authority over you because of the way they conduct themselves. Well, today we are going to learn about how to be another type of leader who is not just getting things done, because there are different ways people attempt to get things done, because leadership by definition is getting things done through people. So if you must get things done, you have to have the skill, the knowledge, and the ability to be able to do so by engaging the service of people. Well, there are different ways people have attempted uh, to, to do this. People can decide to become an iron fist leader. That's talking about a dictator. You can try to get things done through people by actually being autocratic in your disposition. You are the one dictating the pace. You are the one determining everything. You are not giving room for people to use their initiative, to use their creativity. You are just, you know, backing down orders on people so that they do what you want them to do. That is not an effective way to lead people. So you can choose to be an iron fist leader, a dictator, or you can decide to lead democratically, where majority always carry the day. But we all know that today in modern democracy, that is usually not the case. Majority don't always carry the day. Democracy is something that more often than not, even though they claim that it is the people who determines the flow of the power, but that is not true. The kind of democracy we see in our society today is not the type that is determined by people, other than maybe when they give the people. That is in some places. In some places, it is not. People are not even allowed to vote with their conscience. But in a place where they even allow people to vote, where the majority votes carry the day, you still discover that the political elites, those in the ruling class, are the one who are calling the shots. They are the one who is determining the flow of things. The power is not really emanating from the people. It is the ruling class uh, who are very minute in their structure. They are very small. They are just a small fragment within this element of the society, but they are the one deciding the flow of everything. But that is not the way democracy is expected to work. Democracy is something that is supposed to be what works in a democracy are things that should be agreed upon by the people. So we always have to get the consent, the majority consent of the people to decide on how we want our society to be organized. That is what, for me, that is what can really make the democracy work if we want it to work. But in modern day democracy, that is not the way democracy is being practiced today. So if you want to lead uh, through the majority vote democratically is one way of leading, but of course, it's not a perfect way of leading. Neither is leading autocratically is also a perfect way of leading. It's just one form of leadership. Democracy is another form of leadership. Uh, some people even decide to rule by nepotism. Some people, I'm sure nobody should be surprised that some people actually rule by nepotism. Nepotism simply means using your family members, using your children, your wife, your husband, your cousins, your nephews, your nieces, using people that are blood tied to you, using them as your backup staff in your leadership because you don't have so much trust in the people that surrounds you. So uh, your confidentiality resides in people that are blood tied to you. That's one form of leadership for some people, but I can promise you that's also not the best way to lead people. We've had in Nigeria, for example, we've had, I'm not going to mention anybody's name, but of course, we know we've had uh, past president, head of state who have used, uh, who have through nepotism governed the society, and we all knew the result that came out of it. That is not the best way to govern a society. Of course, we are also aware of monarchical way of governing the society. And we've argued in one of our podcasts with my very good friend Kule Bango that although monarchical way of governing the society always has the tendency to slide into autocratic rule, but that is not always the way monarchical government was conceived in Africa ab initio. That was not the way the monarchy worked from uh, right from the beginning. For me, if through our legends, our myths, our historical background, of course, there are some of them that are not so clear, but we can see element of consultation, of participatory, and of inclusive government in the monarchical style of leadership that was practiced in Africa. But that is not what it is today. But just to let you know that we have that aspect of consultation, of participation, of inclusivity uh, in the monarchical system that we used to have in Africa, but it is no more today. Of course, you can decide to rule or to govern or to lead through your charisma, your gift, your talent, your ability, uh, your something that sets you apart from other people. That can be another way of leading people. Uh, but I can also argue that using charisma to lead, of course, is very good, but it's not also the best way of leading people because everything will centers around the leader. Everybody will begin to see you as somebody that is superior to them. Uh, People around you just become a fun to you. They are not, they see you in a class by yourself. They don't ever think they can even ever get close to where you are. So you are more like a famous person to them. They are not really seeing you as somebody they can learn from, that they can duplicate what you are doing in their own life. So that is one of the pitfalls of being a charismatic leader, because more or less you are more or less acting like a celebrity. But that is not the way leadership should be demonstrated. But among all these things that are all style of leadership, all forms of leadership that I've mentioned, the one that really resonates with me as a person, that really connects with the kind of person that I am, having studied leadership. I started studying about leadership in 1998 when I read my first book and second book almost at the same time. That was the same week. That was those were these were the two books written by John C. Maxwell, uh, developing the leader within you and developing the leader around you. Developing the leader within you and developing the leaders around you. Those two books were the first leadership book that I knew that I read. Then I also think subsequently I read spiritual leadership. I can't remember the name of that author now, but I also read that book. And from that moment, from that 1998, I began to acquire more knowledge about leadership. I began to study leadership. Leadership became an interesting subject that I look forward to study, to attend conferences about, and also do a little more research about. And I still continue to do a lot of research around the subject of leadership. But for me, the most exciting model of leadership for me is to lead with empathy. Now, it's not easy for me to come down to this simple way of leading people. I haven't studied the subject extensively for nearly close to 30 years, and I haven't practiced some form of leadership myself, having been opportune uh, to lead different groups, to lead a fellowship, to be a pastor in a church for about 15 years now in an ordained ministry. Uh, uh, having become a manager in my workplace and having to perform some leadership role, I have come to understand that the most exciting form of leadership is to lead people with empathy. And that is what we want to talk about uh, in this podcast. Now, the man who really taught me so much about how to lead with empathy, of course, some people may argue that there is nothing really empathetic about him, but it depends on the way you are looking at him, or the way you understood what he was teaching when he was alive. And that was no other person other than Jack Welch of General Electric. This was the man that first made me uh, to understand how leading with empathy works. You see, let me tell you some basic facts about leadership. Leadership is not an easy task. It is not, when you become a leader, you are not expected to allow everything and anything to go, or you just allow things to just happen without control, without restriction, without, of course, if you are a leader, you have to exercise some forms of control, some forms of organization to make things work. Those are the difficult aspects of leadership that may not necessarily require you to be gentle with people. But nevertheless, while trying to execute the function of a leader, you can also do it with empathy. I think for me, it was Jack Welch that first made me to realize how to be an effective leader while at the same time to be empathetic while doing so. General Electric, Jack Welch took General Electric from a $14 billion business in 1981, and by the time he retired in 2001, he took it from $14 billion business to a $490 billion business. That was amazing. That was that is mind blowing. You know, from 14 to 490, almost half a trillion. That's massive. That's massive. That is, or that was how great this man was, because he passed on to glory in year 2020. Uh, but I started learning about him in 2016 after listening to many of his uh, conferences, his seminars. Then they weren't calling it podcast then, but I listened to a lot of his seminars and uh, symposiums and all that, uh, little talks that he was giving around the country and around the world. Uh, those were really very helpful for me. And it was from those lessons that I learned from him that made me to understand how to be a strong leader, and at the same time to be empathetic while doing so. So, what was the strategy of Jack Welch? It was through Jack Welch that I learned what it means to engage in employee management differentiation. That was what he was most known for. Even people know him for a very strict leader, very tough leader, but most importantly, what he is well known for is for his ability to differentiate employees in their management, in the management of the employees. He was able to categorize employees into three major groups, which we are going to be looking into. And it was from that I also learned that you cannot really treat every of your employee the same way. It is you are cutting failure if you think you can treat everybody equally. That is not going to happen. If you are going to be a successful businessman, if you want your organization to be successful, be it a church, be it a business, be it a political system, whatever, be it an educational system, you cannot reward people equally. And this is the basics of Jack Welch in his leadership style. He doesn't treat people equally. Jack Welch has three categories of workers. There are some people he categorized as the 20% of his employees. These are the people Jack Welch believes he has to give his time most of the time. They have access to him, he has access to them, they can call on him even in the dead of the night. He is always giving attention to these top 20% people, because these are for him, these are the high performers in his organization. These are the people that is bringing in the results. It's just like what we learned in the Pareto principle, 80-20% rule. But his own differentiation is a little bit different from 80-20 rule. His own is 20-70-10. And I'm going to explain how that works. Pareto principle is 80-20, while Jack Welch employee management differentiation is 20-70-10. So the 20% performer for Jack Welch are the people that he treats specially. He gives them special attention. He rewards them with stocks, with the company stocks. He rewards them with bogus reward bonuses, because these are the people that are performing. So he treats them as a special people. Then there is another category of people which falls in the category of the 70% of the employees. These are the people that has potential. They have potential to grow from, some of them can actually move from from among the 70% and move up to part of the 20%, while those who are not really developing themselves can slide to the 30%, to the remaining 10%, but the 70% are the people with potential. For Jack Welch, while potential is good, he always believed that you should always work on your potential to become better. So for Jack Welch, these are medium level performers. They are performing, but still, they still have a lot of room to improve upon. So you can see why Jack Welch doesn't treat everybody equally. The 20% people are treated specially, the 70% people are recognized, but they are often told that they can always do better. And of course, the 10%, the bottom 10%, which Jack Welch doesn't really uh, it doesn't really want them, after letting them know you fall to this category, then after a while, if you are still not performing, what it does is that the way he loved them by employing them into the company, he also loved them on their way out of the company. By the time he's letting the 10% people go out of the company, they already knew the reason why they are leaving the company. They are in no doubt as to the reason why they are being let go. They know they are not performing. So they understand that it is not because he does not like them, whether they are white or black or green or white. It has nothing to do with their race, it has nothing to do with their gender, it has nothing to do with their religion, it has nothing to do with their sex, it has nothing to do with who they are, but it has everything to do with how well they are performing on the job. So if you are in the bottom 10%, you already know that you are a candidate that is on your way out of the company. And I think I have a very wonderful mentor, my own uh, personal coach, who mentored me very closely for 6.5 years in the ministry, and that is no other than uh, Right Reverend Oluranti Odubogun. Uh, Bishop Odubogun was a man that I loved so much. Very strict, very, I can tell you, is very difficult to work with. But if you understand the way it works, you will always understand that working with him will benefit you more than trying to avoid working with him. So he has this similar principle, and I don't, I don't know, maybe people of their own generation, maybe the managers of the 20th century, they have a peculiar style of treating employee. Uh, Probably maybe because they are from the same era, that's why he also has that way of relating with employee. My bishop, Bishop Odubogu, was a director in Cadbury. He has worked with Lever Brothers. He became a marketing director for Cadbury at the age of 32. So he has had an extensive experience in the corporate uh, Nigeria before he came into the ministry. And so he has this very high-tech way of running things. And I can say that I learned so much from him, working very closely with him. So he also has this same approach to ministry. I also observed that as a bishop of a diocese, he doesn't reward people equally. And in fact, two people can do the same thing and he will reward them through different means. He knows the reward that he will give to you will be such that will align with what he believes and what you yourself would know actually aligns to what you need in your life. That's the way he rewards people. He doesn't reward people. Uh, he doesn't reward people equally, if I want to put it that way. He rewards people based on what he feels is right for you and based on what he thinks is appropriate for you. And that is the way he also runs his own ministry. And we can also see that even in the ministry of Jesus. Jesus doesn't treat all the disciples equally. He has the three that are always with him. Then he has the 12 that are also mostly with him. Then he has the 70 other also, who sometimes are also with him. The way he relates with the 70 is not the way he relates with the 12. The way he relates with the 12 is not exactly the same way he relates with Peter, James, and John. And this, I think, is very powerful and very instructive. So, if you're a leader in your organization, you're a leader in your church, you're a leader in your businesses, you cannot afford to treat people equally. You have to put some some parameters of how to differentiate how you lead people. And you have to do this. This for me, I believe, is what enables you to lead people with empathy. Like I said, for Jack Welch, the bottom 10% people are not going to be tolerated in the organization. They are not going to continue to earn salary while you are not producing anything to move the organization forward. Once you know that you have been classified as the bottom 10 in the organization, after giving you some time to improve, and if you are not improving, uh, the sometimes Jack Welch can even help you to find another job that he believes you can do better. That, for me, is empathy. Some people will even send you away out of their company without even letting you know what you did wrong, but not Jack Welch. When Jack Welch is letting you go out of his company, Jack Welch and you, the employee, knows exactly why you are leaving the company. You know it is because you are not performing. That is why you are leaving the company. And sometimes when he sees that the capacity you have can actually thrive in some areas, it can even help you by connecting you to those organizations so that you find a place that actually suits the capacity and the capability that you have as an employee. So I also said Jesus also practiced this same principle. For example, look at the way Jesus dealt with Peter and the way he dealt with Judas. Same mistake, uh, same disciple, but one had mercy, but one completely lost out at the end of the day. If you ask me to explain how that happened, I cannot give you an effective explanation. But just to let you know that this is also a principle that runs through the Bible. And I can also tell you when I became a manager in my place of work, of course, I've also uh, been a pastor in an ordained ministry for 15 years. And I've also, is it 15 or 16 years now, since 2029. That's 16 years. I've been an ordained ministry for 16 years. Uh, and I've also led a youth corporate fellowship of KB State for 1 year with monumental achievement. I've also led youth fellowship of my local church when I was in the university with outstanding results and with effectiveness. These are some of the leadership experiences that I've had before now. But even currently, as the manager in my place of work today, uh, I try as much as possible to apply some of these principles that I've just shared with you. I try to apply them in my leadership style. I remember when I first stepped into the role of a program manager in my place of work. I remember uh, my superiors stating to me that so person, they are not doing well, they are not performing, they are not doing this, they are not doing that, so we are going to let them go. I said, well, I'm not arguing with you that they are not doing well, they are not performing, but my own style of leadership is to first of all look at the situation and see what is happening with them. How can we help them? How can we assist them? What effort have we made to support them to ensure that they do better in their job? And I offered that they should give me some space that I will need during those times. I will support them, I will assist them. They will ask me any question, and I will support them as much as I can and provide resources for them that will help them to thrive on the job. If after providing all those supports, they are still not able to perform, then I and those people that were involved knew right from the beginning that once they are not meeting the target that I want at the end of so time, then I will not have any choice but to let them go. So we have that understanding right from the beginning when I step in as a manager. And I did exactly that. I supported them, I encouraged them, I provided resources that will help them to thrive. But after doing my best, and they were not still not meeting up, I didn't have any choice. I could have even let them go just like that, but I decided to just step them down a little from a full-time staff to a relief staff. So which means they are only getting jobs when extra jobs are available. So that is what it means to lead with empathy, because you cannot afford to put people who are not competent on the job, because if you do that, you will run down the business, and that will not mean, or that will not be equivalent to leading with empathy, because you are on the other hand causing hemorrhage to happen to the business, and you don't want your business to bleed to death. So what you do is when people are not performing, you support them, you help them, you assist them. If they are able to go with the flow, of course we can retain them. But if after providing support for them, they are still not meeting up, then they all know, you and them know, that it is now time for them to move on to the next phase in their life. And that is how I have been able to apply Jack Welch principle to my own leadership style. And it has really deepened the way I lead as a leader. So it's everything is just you either produce result or you don't produce result. And if you don't produce result, you are out of the way. When you are not producing results, I want to understand why you are not producing results, how I can help you to produce a better result, and how I can offer my support to help you to get a better result. And if after all my effort you are still not producing, then you and I know the reason why you have been asked to go out of the organization. Now, to lead with empathy, we've said so much about leading with empathy. So, to lead with empathy, there are some parameters that are very, very crucial that we are going to look into. There are some certain things that must be in place that we need to look into that are like a, uh, how would I put it now? They are like a milestone, or is it milestone now? Is that the right word? They are like a benchmark. That is a particular word I'm looking for. I'm not cutting that. Uh, uh, like a landmark, uh, things that must be there. They are like certain principles that must be in place for leading with empathy to actually work. So there are some parameters we need to put into consideration. For example, to lead with empathy, you must learn how to listen actively. There must be active listening in place. It's not just listening, it has to be active. And I'm going to teach you, uh, I'm going to explain how active listening works. Because not until uh, year 2021 or 2022, maybe 2021 or maybe 2022, um, I didn't really know how to practice active listening. I believe I knew, maybe I was doing, probably maybe I wasn't doing it well, but the year that I knew I started to really implement active listening. Not that I've become a professional in it, I'm still growing in it. Of course, we are all expected to continue to grow on a daily basis. But the year that I became aware of how active listening works was either in year 2021 or year 2022. Prior to that time, whenever I'm in a conversation with people, there are two things that are always preoccupying my mind. Number one, uh, uh, I don't want. I always feel that I am mandated to make sure that the conversation is is active in the sense that sometimes when you are talking with somebody, uh, I always feel the pressure to always keep the conversation going. And I didn't know that that does not have to be. For me, that is my own weakness when I'm in a conversation with somebody. I always feel pressured to always keep the conversation going. I always believe I have to be the one to do the talking, to make sure we always find subject to talk about. uh, to make sure that I'm always bringing issues up for us to talk about. That is the pressure I feel. But not that it was the person that was putting the pressure on me. I just feel that is how a conversation should be. But it was later that I learned that is not the way conversation works. You don't have to be under pressure to make a conversation going. What you need most of the time is to have the ear to listen. And that is what I didn't have prior to that time. Another challenge that I have before 2022 was that uh, I always also feel that I have to respond to everything that people say. It's still part of the pressure. I also feel that I have to respond, that there must always be an answer to everything people say. But it was after I took a course called Clinical Pastoral Education, uh, because I also trained as a chaplain, how to be a chaplain. That was when I learned how to engage in active listening. And active listening simply means to truly hear someone without interrupting them and without judging them. Just sit and listen. Sometimes we think that people want us to respond to what they are saying, but most of the time, I'm not saying some people are not expecting you to respond, but sometimes people are not actually looking for your response. They just want you to listen. They want you to pay attention. They want you to hear them out. They want you to just be there for them. So, active listening is hearing what people are saying without interrupting them, without judging them. And this is how you measure it. It is how much you align their words, their tone, their body language to what they are saying. Your ability to put everything together and actually make everything to make sense to you. Sometimes when people are talking, it's not just the words they are spewing out that is important. You also need to pay attention to their body language. You need to even pay attention to the tone of their language. These are very, very important. And when you are able to do this effectively, what it helps you to do is that it helps you to build trust with people. People will actually trust you when they know that you can listen to them. This is one thing we don't have in our culture, particularly in African culture. We are not always listening. And that is why African leaders will do things without even consulting with the people. And even when people are saying something, they are not willing to listen. And I think this is a disappointment to the entire society. As a leader, we need to learn how to listen, not being under the pressure to respond, as most of us will often do many times, but just sitting down there and hearing what people are saying. It helps you to build trust with people. People will actually trust you more when they believe that you will listen to what they want to say. And then it also shows that you value their perspective. There is nothing as important when you are able to see things not only from your own perspective, but you are also able to see things from other people's perspective. I've been in a conversation where people always believe it has to be their only way and no other way. I've, I've been privileged to be in such a group of people when they think, even though what they think is their way is not necessarily the best way for the group, but they believe since they have said it, since they are saying it this way, everybody has to take the part that they are taking. But I, for one, knows that most of the time that is not the way things work. You have to learn to see things from other people's perspective, and there is no other way uh, that we can do this unless we cultivate the habits of listening. Now, I've mentioned a bit of what I'm going to talk about this, but I'm still going to mention it. Another parameter to consider when you are leading with empathy is to learn to see things through other people's perspective. I've mentioned a bit of that, but I'm just re-emphasizing it to know how important it is for you to learn things from other people's perspective. It is really very, very important. You have to see things from other people's perspective. Inability to see things from other people's perspective will make everything chaotic, both to you and to the people. But when you are able to see things from their perspective, you know what is worrying them. You know what is the stumbling block to you making the appropriate decision. So you need to learn to step into someone else's shoes, imagining their experiences, their emotion, and then for you to foster a deeper understanding of what is actually going on in their life. It is not about agreeing with what people are saying, but most importantly, it's about seeing things from their world, seeing things from their own perspective. I remember in year 2001, I went to visit a friend in Shagamu. He was a lovely friend, a very close friend of mine. Uh, we went to the same university together, but he graduated a year ahead of me. And I just went and spent some time with him and his family. Uh, was there. We had a nice time together. And it was from his house that I came in contact with a book written by Stevie Covey. Uh, the title of the book is The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. It was this, my friend. Uh, I saw that book in his house, and I think throughout the night, rather than having a good night's sleep, I spent the entire night reading that book because I was so much engrossed in that book. And it was from that book, especially I think it should be the chapter 2 of that book, when Stevie Covey was talking about perspective. He was talking about perspective and how perspective shape the way we see things. And in that chapter, Stevie Covey had an image. And when you look at that image, if you are somebody who does not believe in too much of creativity and all that, if you look at that image, what you will see looking at that image is that you will see an ugly looking old woman. That is what you will see. But if you are somebody who is given to creativity, who who is open to seeing things from another angle and all that, the same image, you will see a beautiful young lady. Wow, that was so demonstrative to me that right from that image alone, from that time, I knew how perspective shape how we see the world. Same image, an old ugly woman, same image, a beautiful young lady. Same picture, same image. And that really taught me so much from that book. So sometimes we might be looking at the same thing, but we are not really seeing the same thing. You are seeing something very ugly, very old, but I am seeing something that is unique, that is dynamic, that is creative, that is innovative. Uh, that may be what I'm saying. But if you don't learn to see things from my own perspective, you will miss all that. And that is why it is important to always learn how to see things from other people's perspective. Another parameter that is necessary for us to lead with empathy is that we must recognize people's context. And for people who have taken, for preachers, let me use put it that way, for preachers who took their time to go to seminary, you will always understand that one of the ways they teach you to interpret the Bible is to always put the context into cognizance. So you are not just interpreting the Bible in isolation. You are also reading the Bible with the mindset, with the understanding that there is a context that is connected to this story. Because the context is as well as important as the revelation you want to bring out of it. If you are just bringing out a revelation, they are not putting context to it, then you are simply teaching heresy. So we need to recognize people's context. Contexts are always very crucial when we are trying to interpret the way people feel, the way people respond, or the way people behave. Every one of us, regardless of who you are, a man, a woman, a boy, a girl, old man, old woman, white, black, whoever you are, an African, an American, an Asian, a European, wherever you are from this world, we all share the same certain humanity in common. We all feel joy, we all feel pain, we all feel sorrow, we all feel sorrowful, or we can be fearful. Everybody has these tendencies as our shared humanity. What is different is how and why people feel this emotion. And the reason why this is always different is because of the context that surrounds the occurrence of such emotion. So, to excel as a leader, you have to lead by respecting individuals' differences. Don't try to treat all people as if they are one homogeneous species. You will be doing a great harm. People will not even respect you for doing that. People expected to be treated differently because we have different contexts. And so you need to be able to match people's context with their daily experiences. So another thing you need to be, another parameter that is very, very important when we want to lead with empathy is to be self-aware, self-aware, self-awareness. So you need to understand your own emotion, because when you understand your emotion, it will help you to relate with other people without projecting your own biases and or your assumption on others. You need to be aware of your limitation. There are some people they are not even aware of their limitation. You have to be aware of what you are not capable of. You have to be aware of what you cannot do and learn to use people who can do a better job than you, and only learn to focus on what you are able to do well. So I like you to uh, understand your own emotion so that you are not imposing your biases and your assumption on other people. Another parameter that is very crucial to leading with empathy is to learn to lead with your presence. Let your presence be always available. Like I said at the beginning, sometimes people don't just need to be heard. Sometimes we feel people want to be heard. That is not the only need of the people. People don't just want you to hear them. They don't even sometimes require you to even solve their problem. But like I said at the beginning, one of my own greatest challenge was that I always feel pressured to always want to uh, kind of be the, the driver of every conversation that I am in. But that is not the way it works. Many a times people don't want you to fix their problem. They just want you to hear them out. They just want you to be with them, to be there for them, to be there with them. They don't want you to solve the problem. They just want your presence. And this is one of the most difficult things that people are not able to give. Many a times, people are not requiring solution from us. All that they are requiring from us is the offering of our presence. So uh, you have to accommodate people's feeling by being present with them, which is often more powerful than giving them advice on how to fix their problems. Think about Jesus. The Bible said how he was anointed with Holy Ghost and with power. He went about, he was going about doing good, healing all that were oppressed of the devil. The most important thing was that God was going about. He was going about just staying in the midst of the people. That is why we have him as our Emmanuel, God with us. He's with us. He's not just there to fix our problem. His presence is with us. And we need to learn how to offer our presence to people, not just wanting to fix their problem. And lastly, uh, the last parameter that we need to consider when we want to lead with empathy is to learn how uh, to even self-care for ourselves. This may seem like it's not necessary, but you need to learn how to care for yourself. You need to learn how to care for yourself. I can tell you this is one of the greatest challenge I had many years ago, and it almost put me in trouble because I wasn't really caring for myself. I was too passionate to succeed. I was too the passion to succeed was so much such that I was neglecting self-care. But if you really want to live with empathy, you need to self-care for yourself first. It is somebody who is healthy, dignified in himself, who will be ready to help other people. I'm not arguing that it is not right to live with empathy. While empathy is vital, Over identifying with people's pain sometimes can be very draining. Sometimes people come to you with all kinds of needs, and then you begin to ignore your own needs and then begin to meet their own needs. I'm not saying it's wrong to meet people's needs, but you can't do it at your own detriment. What the Bible offers us is to love your neighbor as yourself. You can't love your neighbor more than yourself. If you love your neighbor more than yourself, when you are no longer available, your neighbor will move to somebody else. So you always have to do what you have the capacity to do. The key word is to love your neighbor as yourself. So you have to establish certain boundaries with people to prevent burnout while you are taking care of them. So what I'm saying is that you have to balance your compassion with self-care to sustain it long term. I believe I've been able to inspire you. I've been able to uh, pour my knowledge into you about how to live with empathy. And I trust that beginning from this moment, with this new mindset, you also will begin to lead with empathy. Not treating people as if they are one homogeneous species, but recognizing that different people need different approach of leadership. Until I see you next time, God bless you. Bye-bye.